Your fat has a hiding spot, and diets keep missing it. You've been cutting carbs, skipping dessert, and eating salads like a very committed rabbit, and your belly hasn't moved a single inch. The strategy you've been using was built for a 28-year-old's metabolism, not yours. Belly fat, specifically the deep layer packed around your organs called visceral fat, is not passive storage. It is metabolically active tissue. It communicates directly with your hormones, responds to your stress levels, and has a built-in biological defense system that makes it extraordinarily resistant to calorie restriction alone. When researchers study visceral fat under a microscope, they find it is densely packed with cortisol receptors and insulin receptors, two hormonal triggers that are almost constantly elevated in adults over 40. This is exactly why you can drop 10 pounds and watch it disappear from your face, your arms, and your chest, while your waistline barely flinches. Your body has a specific pecking order for fat loss, and visceral belly fat sits at the very bottom of that list when your hormones are working against you. Diets reduce calories, but calories were never the lock on that door. Your hormones are, and that changes everything about how you need to approach this problem. You're not failing. Your body is protecting it. Why belly fat refuses to leave after 40. Every morning, your body is already making decisions about whether it will burn energy or hold on to it. And after 40, those decisions often start changing in ways most people never realize. If your belly fat feels unusually stubborn, this hidden shift may be a big part of the reason why. Insulin's primary job is to shuttle energy from your bloodstream into your cells, but its secondary job, the one nobody mentions, is to act as a fat storage gatekeeper. When insulin is elevated, your fat cells are in full lockdown mode. The biological doors seal shut, and stored fat cannot be released into the bloodstream to be burned as fuel. It doesn't matter how clean you're eating. If insulin is up, the fat stays put. Research published in the journal Diabetes Care confirms that insulin resistance, which becomes significantly more common after 40, is directly linked to increased visceral fat accumulation. The two feed each other in a loop. More visceral fat worsens insulin resistance. Worse insulin resistance makes visceral fat harder to lose. The only way to break that loop is to work with your hormones instead of ignoring them entirely, which is exactly what fasted walking does in a way no diet can replicate. The timing of that walk matters more than you think. What happens to your body the moment you walk on empty? Most people think a morning walk is just exercise. Lace up, head out, burn a few calories, come home, and feel like you checked the box. But under one very specific condition, that same walk can have a completely different effect inside your body. When you wake up after 8 to 10 hours without food, your blood sugar is at its lowest point of the entire day. Insulin is barely circulating. Your body has already burned through the easy, accessible fuel sitting in your bloodstream. The moment you start moving, your muscles need energy. And with nothing left in the easy tank, your body is forced to go looking somewhere else. That somewhere else is your stored fat. Your body releases a hormone called glucagon, which acts as the biological opposite of insulin. Glucagon signals your fat cells to release stored fatty acids into the bloodstream. Your muscles then grab those fatty acids and burn them directly as fuel. This is fat oxidation, and it happens most efficiently when insulin is low and movement creates demand. Participants who walked fasted burned up to 20% more stored body fat than the group that ate breakfast first, doing the exact same walk at the exact same pace for the exact same duration. But insulin is only half the problem. There's a second hormone quietly piling fat onto your midsection every day. The stress hormone quietly packing fat onto your midsection. You've probably heard that stress makes you fat, and you nodded, maybe blamed your job, your kids, your mortgage, and moved on. But what most people never realize is that your body responds to everyday stress in a way that can quietly keep belly fat exactly where it is. When your brain perceives ongoing stress, it signals your adrenal glands to keep cortisol circulating. Cortisol's job in a true emergency is brilliant. It floods your body with quick energy and tells your fat cells to store reserves near your vital organs for fast access. The problem is your body cannot tell the difference between a deadline and a lion, so it keeps hoarding fat around your midsection regardless. Research consistently shows that chronically elevated cortisol directly increases visceral fat deposits. It also worsens insulin resistance, which means cortisol and insulin are essentially a two-man team working against your waistline simultaneously. Fasted walking in the morning acts as a direct pressure release valve for cortisol, Rhythmic, moderate movement, especially outdoors, actively lowers circulating stress hormones. Your nervous system shifts out of fight or flight mode. Your cortisol drops. And with cortisol lower and insulin already at its overnight floor, your fat cells are about as open as they will ever be. And the two hormones you just learned about, they don't work alone. There's a third variable that determines whether any of this actually works at all. The exact moment your body switches to burning belly fat. Before you walk to the end of your driveway, check your phone and call it a fasted walk. There are actual numbers that matter here. And the good news is they're far more manageable than anything a fitness influencer has ever tried to sell you. The first 10 to 15 minutes of any walk are essentially a warm-up lap for your metabolism. Your body is transitioning fuel sources, clearing out the last scraps of residual blood sugar, and gradually opening the fat-burning pathways. You are moving in the right direction, but you haven't fully arrived yet. A quick 10-minute stroll is great for your joints and your mood, but it is not long enough to trigger a meaningful fat oxidation response. The sweet spot sits between 30 and 45 minutes. Once you cross that 15-minute threshold, your body has fully committed to burning stored fat as its primary fuel source. Every minute you stay in motion after that point pulls more directly from your visceral fat reserves. The burn is steady, continuous, and compounding. Pace matters too. You want to move at a brisk but sustainable speed, fast enough that your breathing is slightly elevated, slow enough that you could still hold a conversation without gasping. This keeps you locked in the aerobic fat-burning zone without spiking your stress hormones and undoing the entire process. A 30-minute brisk walk on an empty stomach does more metabolic work than an hour at the gym after breakfast. The walk is only half the equation. What you do before you leave determines whether it works. You figured out the fasted walk. You set the alarm. You're committed. Then, in the few minutes before you head out, you do one tiny thing almost everyone does. And it quietly changes the entire metabolic setup before the walk even begins. Most people understand the concept of fasting, but dramatically underestimate how little it takes to break it from a metabolic standpoint. A splash of sweetened creamer, a single bite of a banana, a small handful of crackers for energy, none of these feel like a real meal. But from your body's perspective, any carbohydrate or sugar hitting your digestive system triggers an immediate insulin response. The moment insulin enters your bloodstream, the fat-burning switch flips back off. Your body detects available fuel, stops pulling from fat reserves, and switches back to burning whatever you just consumed. The fasted state you built over 8 to 10 hours of overnight sleep is gone in under 5 minutes. To protect the entire process, your pre-walk intake needs to be strictly 0 calorie. Plain water, plain black coffee, or plain green tea. Nothing added. No sweeteners, no cream, no flavored packets. Each of those contains enough to pull your body completely out of fat-burning mode before you reach the end of your street. The overnight fast is the most valuable biological asset you have every single morning. Don't spend it on creamer. Now that you know what to avoid, there's one more lever you can pull to make every single walk significantly more effective. The morning stack that multiplies every step you take. You do not need another complicated routine before 8 a.m. Fasted walking is about as simple as it gets. But two overlooked factors determine whether it does very little or a whole lot. The first is hydration. After 8 hours of sleep, your body is naturally dehydrated, and a dehydrated body is a sluggish, fat-burning machine, and you wake up that way every single morning. Drink a large glass of room-temperature water the moment you wake up, before your coffee, before your shoes, before anything else. That single habit meaningfully improves your body's ability to break down and transport fatty acids during the walk. The second is caffeine. A cup of plain black coffee before your walk gives you a legitimate metabolic advantage. Caffeine is a proven lipolytic agent, meaning it directly encourages your fat cells to release fatty acids into the bloodstream to be burned as fuel. It also provides a mild increase in metabolic rate. Just keep it completely black. The second anything is added, the insulin response follows. As for stacking this into a real schedule, 30 minutes before your household wakes up is enough. This routine does not require perfection. It requires consistency. Done daily, fasted walking compounds. Your body becomes progressively more efficient at burning fat as its default fuel source. Your blood sugar regulation improves, and that stubborn midsection starts responding in ways that no diet ever managed alone. Now let's put the whole picture together. Because the real power of this habit isn't any single walk. Why most people stop too soon. One walk is not going to make your belly fat pack a suitcase and leave town, but something does start shifting earlier than most people realize. Every morning you complete this routine, you are training your body to become more efficient at using fat as fuel. Scientists call this fat adaptation, and it builds progressively. Your mitochondria, the energy factories inside your muscle cells, physically increase in number and efficiency the more consistently you demand fat oxidation from them. Your insulin sensitivity improves. Your cortisol baseline drops. Your body stops treating fat storage as its default setting. By week 2, most people notice their energy levels stabilizing throughout the day. By week 4, clothes start fitting differently around the midsection, not because of dramatic weight loss, but because visceral fat is specifically shrinking. That deep, stubborn layer that ignored every diet finally has a daily mechanism working directly against it. You do not need a gym membership, a meal plan, or a supplement stack. You need a glass of water, a pair of shoes, and 30 minutes before breakfast. That's the entire protocol. The biology does the rest. Your body was designed to burn fat. Fasted walking just finally gives it permission. If you're going to try fasted walking tomorrow morning, drop a comment below and tell me what time you're heading out. If this broke it down in a way that actually made sense, leave a like so this reaches someone else who needs it. And if you want breakdowns that actually make the science stick, hit subscribe.